Nothing in the life of God's chosen ones happens by chance. If you are here, it is because God has led you to this moment, orchestrating every step of your journey. What you are experiencing is not an ordinary shift, it is a divine transformation. You are moving from simply desiring something to actively receiving it, from hoping for change to stepping into the reality God has prepared for you. This is not a mere adjustment in mindset. It is a profound awakening, a spiritual elevation that aligns you with God's purpose. This transformation goes beyond what the eyes can see. It is a change in the atmosphere around you, an energy shift that propels you toward the destiny He has designed. You may have felt stuck before, longing for a breakthrough, but now things are falling into place in ways you never imagined. Doors that once seemed locked are opening. Opportunities that felt distant are drawing near. This is not luck, this is divine alignment. God is preparing you, strengthening you, and equipping you for what lies ahead. All you need to do is trust Him, walk in faith, and embrace the calling that has always been yours. Your time has come. If you're ready to uncover the truth behind why everyone was stunned when they realized it was you, drop a 77 in the comments. Let the world see that you are stepping boldly into your divine calling and fully embracing the purpose God has destined for you. They whispered about you in doubt, convinced that you would never make it. They watched from a distance, waiting for the moment you would stumble, expecting you to fail. In their minds, they had already written your story, a narrative of struggle without victory, of effort without results. They saw only limitations, assuming that you were not strong enough, not capable enough, not chosen. But what they failed to recognize was the power of God working within you. While they predicted your downfall, God was preparing your rise. Every setback they thought would break you only made you stronger. Every challenge they believed would defeat you became an opportunity for you to grow. Instead of crumbling under pressure, you stood firm, rooted in faith, refusing to be defined by their expectations. They were shocked when you didn't fall, when you kept moving forward with unwavering determination. Your perseverance confused them. They could not understand how someone they had dismissed was now excelling, how someone they had overlooked was now thriving. But they forgot one thing: God's chosen ones do not walk alone. Where the world sees obstacles, God creates pathways. Where others see failure, He declares victory. They never saw you coming. They spoke in quiet whispers, convinced that you would never rise, that your dreams were too big, your faith too blind. They underestimated you, dismissing your strength, assuming you would eventually give up. But what they didn't realize was that their doubt was never a barrier, it was fuel. Every time they overlooked you, every time they spoke words of discouragement, they unknowingly added to the fire God had already placed within you. God's chosen ones do not seek validation from the world. Your purpose was never dependent on their approval, and your destiny was never in their hands. You did not need to argue, to convince them of your worth, or to prove that you belonged. Instead, you let your actions speak for you. You moved forward, step by step, allowing your progress to be the answer to their doubts. Each silent victory, each step of faith became louder than any of their judgments. While they sought attention, you sought purpose. While they waited for signs of your failure, you remained focused on the path God laid before you. And then, something unexpected happened. The same voices that once dismissed you began to notice your rise. They watched in confusion as you broke through barriers they thought would hold you back. They saw doors open for you that should have remained shut. They saw you walk in strength when they expected you to crumble. But what they could not understand was that your strength did not come from yourself, it came from God. You never needed their recognition. Their acceptance was never the goal. What truly mattered was that you believed in what God had placed inside you. Your faith in His plan, your trust in His process, and your refusal to be shaken by their doubt became the very things that set you apart. You understood that your journey was never about proving them wrong, it was always about proving God's plan right. Now they stand in awe, unsure of how someone they overlooked has risen beyond their expectations. But they fail to see the truth. You were never moving by human strength alone. The power of God carried you, His favor lifted you, and His calling set you apart. Their doubt was never meant to stop you, was meant to remind you that you never needed their belief to fulfill the purpose God had already written for you. And now, as you continue to rise, they are left with only one realization. The one they least expected was chosen all along. Society has always tried to define people by its own standards, setting limits on who they can be, how far they can go, and what they can achieve. It establishes rules, expectations, and barriers, believing that those who do not fit within these boundaries are destined to remain unseen, unheard, and unnoticed. But God's chosen ones were never meant to conform to the world's mold. You were never meant to follow the rules set by man. From the very beginning, you were designed to break barriers, to challenge expectations, and to redefine what is possible. They told you what you could and could not do, convinced that their systems, traditions, and limitations would apply to you as they did to everyone else. They believed that the same restrictions that held others back would be enough to contain you. But with every attempt to confine you, you only grew stronger. With every limit they tried to impose, you proved them wrong, not with words, but with action. They said you couldn't, yet you did. They said it was impossible, yet you made it happen. What they failed to understand is that when God has called you, no human standard can define you. Your success is not based on their expectations, it is based on divine purpose. God did not create you to fit in, He created you to stand out. He placed within you a fire that refuses to be extinguished, a vision that refuses to be contained, and a destiny that refuses to be dictated by man's rules. Every time you shattered their expectations, you reminded them that God's power is greater than any limitation they could place upon you. They may have assumed that success looks a certain way, that greatness follows a predictable path. But you are living proof that God's plan does not follow human logic. He takes the least expected and raises them above those who thought they were in control. He uses the rejected, the underestimated, and the overlooked to show the world that His power is greater than any system, institution, or societal rule. You are not just achieving what they thought was impossible, you are redefining what success means. You are proving that victory is not about fitting into a man-made mold, but about fulfilling God's purpose for your life. While others chase after approval and recognition, you are moving forward in divine alignment. And as you continue to rise, breaking through barriers they thought were unbreakable, the world will have no choice but to acknowledge that you were never meant to be confined by their expectations, you were meant to soar beyond them. For so long, they tried to dictate your path, shaping your life according to their expectations, their fears, and their limitations. They wanted to control your decisions, your dreams, and even your identity. They spoke as if they knew what was best for you, as if their vision for your future was the only one that mattered. They convinced you that following their ways was the safest route, that stepping outside of their control would only lead to failure. But what they failed to see was that God had already placed something greater inside of you, something that could never be confined by human expectations. The moment you realized that their control was never meant to define you, everything changed. It was not easy to break free. It required strength, courage, and faith. It required you to step out of the shadows of their influence and into the light of your true calling. At first, the weight of their voices lingered, their doubts echoed in your mind, but deep within, a different voice spoke louder, the voice of God. He reminded you that you were not created to live under the control of others, but to walk in the freedom He has given you. Letting go of their hold on you was not just an act of rebellion, it was an act of obedience to God. You were never meant to be shaped by the hands of those who do not understand your purpose. You were never meant to be defined by people who do not see what God has placed inside of you. Breaking free was necessary so that you could step fully into your destiny, unchained and unburdened by the expectations of others. And as you walked away from their grasp, you discovered something powerful was stronger than you had ever realized. You had been conditioned to believe that their approval was necessary, that their direction was the only way forward, but in truth, God had been leading you all along. The strength, the wisdom, the confidence you were searching for had always been within you, waiting for the moment you would stop looking to others for permission to be who God called you to be. Now, You stand in a freedom that can never be taken from you. You are no longer bound by their opinions, no longer held back by their doubts. You have reclaimed your identity, your voice, your destiny. And as you continue forward, you do so knowing that your life is no longer controlled by the limitations of man, but led by the limitless power of God. They never expected you to rise because everything seemed to be working against you. You did not have the privileges, the connections, or the resources that others relied on. There were no open doors waiting for you, no easy paths paved in your favor. From the outside, it looked as if the odds were stacked too high, as if you were destined to remain where you started. But God's chosen ones are not defined by circumstances, they are shaped by faith. Every obstacle you faced was meant to discourage you, to make you believe that your journey was impossible. The struggles were real, the setbacks undeniable, but instead of breaking you, they refined you. Where others saw hardship as a reason to quit, you saw it as a reason to grow. Every time life tried to hold you down, you chose to rise. Not because it was easy, not because you had all the answers, but because something inside you refused to accept defeat. It was never about having the perfect conditions, it was about having the courage to keep going despite them. Your faith in God allowed you to walk through doors that others thought were closed. The challenges that should have crushed you became stepping stones towards something greater. With each trial, you became stronger. With each setback, you gained wisdom. And with each hardship, you developed a resilience that could not be shaken. There were times when you felt alone, when no one seemed to believe in you, when the support you longed for never came. But what the world did not provide, God did. He was the unseen strength behind every victory, the quiet reassurance in moments of doubt, the guiding force that turned your trials into triumphs. Others may have had more advantages, but what you had was far greater, the favor of God. And when His hand is on you, nothing can stand in your way. You did not just prove them wrong, you proved something to yourself. You learned that your strength does not come from external validation, from having an easy journey, or from the expectations of others. It comes from within. It comes from the deep well of faith that tells you that no matter how difficult the road may seem, you were chosen for something greater. And now, as you continue forward, you do so knowing that you are not limited by where you came from, but empowered by where God is taking you. They questioned your strength. They doubted your ability to keep going, believing that without their approval, you would falter. But what they failed to understand is that your strength was never dependent on them. The power that sustains you does not come from external validation, it comes from within, from the deep well of faith that God has placed in your spirit. The world may have tried to shake you, to make you doubt your own path, but nothing could break the foundation that God Himself has built inside of you. While others waver in uncertainty, you have learned to trust in the quiet assurance of God's presence. You have seen firsthand that belief is the greatest force a person can carry, the belief that you were made for more, the belief that God's hand is upon you, the belief that no matter how many obstacles arise, you will overcome them. When others hesitated, you moved forward. When others looked for signs of approval, you listened only to the voice of the one who called you. Your journey has not been easy, and yet, with every challenge, your confidence has only grown stronger. The doubts of others did not weaken you, they only served to strengthen your resolve. You have learned to walk by faith and not by sight, to trust in the process even when the destination is unclear. You understand now that true strength is not about never facing hardship, it is about standing firm in the face of it, knowing that God will never fail you. Time has proven one undeniable truth. The belief you carry in yourself, rooted in faith, is more powerful than any opposition you will ever face. This belief is what allowed you to keep going when others expected you to quit. It is what kept you moving when every circumstance seemed to be against you. It is what has brought you to where you are now, and it is what will continue to propel you forward. They expected you to crumble under pressure, to lose direction without their approval, to doubt yourself when the world doubted you, but instead, you rose. You found strength where they saw weakness. You found clarity where they saw confusion. And now, as you continue forward, you do so with an unshakable spirit, knowing that the success you have found is not built on fleeting opinions but on the eternal foundation of faith. There were moments when you felt alone, when the weight of life pressed heavily upon your shoulders, when no one seemed to understand the battles you were fighting. The path was uncertain, the trials unrelenting, and yet, through it all, something kept you moving forward. It was not human strength, nor was it sheer willpower. It was something greater, something unseen, something divine. You may not have always recognized it, but you have never walked this journey alone. There is a force guiding you, a power beyond human comprehension that has sustained you through every storm. This is the presence of God, the silent yet unstoppable force that has been working in your favor long before you ever realized it. When you were at your lowest, it was His hand that lifted you up. When you were lost in confusion, it was His voice that whispered direction. When you felt weak, it was His strength that carried you. The world often believes that success is a product of skill, intelligence, or luck. They search for formulas, strategies, and explanations to understand why some rise while others fall. But God's chosen ones know the truth. What sustains them is not seen by the natural eye. It is the divine presence of God working in the background, orchestrating every event, aligning every opportunity, and ensuring that every step leads toward the fulfillment of His plan. There were times when doors slammed shut in front of you, when people turned their backs, when opportunities seemed to disappear just when you needed them most. In those moments it felt like rejection, like failure, like an ending. But what you now understand is that those were not losses, they were divine redirections. God was closing doors that were never meant for you, so that you could walk through the ones He had prepared. What felt like delay was actually divine timing, aligning you with something far greater than what you had planned for yourself. Even when you did not see it, even when you doubted, God was working. He was clearing paths, removing distractions, and preparing you for something beyond what you could imagine. While others relied on their own strength, their own understanding, and their own resources, you were sustained by something far greater, the favor of God. It has been the unseen force propelling you forward, ensuring that no obstacle could stop you, no failure could define you, and no enemy could hold you back. Many people spend their lives searching for security in temporary things, wealth, relationships, status. But you have come to understand that the greatest security is found in knowing that you are guided by the one who never fails. While others question their purpose, you walk in certainty, knowing that your steps are ordered. While others hesitate in fear, you move with confidence, trusting in the God who has never abandoned you. This invisible force does not only protect you, it transforms you. It strengthens you when you feel weak, it restores you when you feel broken, and it uplifts you when you feel discouraged. It does not promise an easy road, but it assures you that every challenge has a purpose. Every hardship is shaping you. Every difficulty is preparing you for something greater. You were never meant to walk this path alone, and you never have. The world may not always understand how you continue to rise, how you find strength when others would have given up. But the truth is, it has never been by your own might. It has always been by the power of God, the unseen force that has carried you through every storm and will continue to lead you into every victory that awaits. They saw your failures as proof that you would never succeed. Every time you stumbled, every time a plan fell apart, they whispered among themselves, convinced that you were done. They thought your setbacks were signs of weakness, that each challenge you faced was a step closer to defeat. But what they failed to understand is that God's chosen ones do not see failure the way the world does. What others call defeat, you recognize as preparation. What they see as the end, you know is just the beginning of something greater. Every setback has been a lesson, a refining fire shaping you into the person God has called you to be. The struggles, the disappointments, the moments of uncertainty, none of them were wasted. Each hardship was a stepping stone, lifting you higher, making you wiser, strengthening your resolve. The world teaches that success is about avoiding failure, but God's chosen ones know that true success comes from overcoming it. The trials you have endured were not meant to destroy you. They were meant to prepare you for what is ahead. When plans fell apart, when doors closed, when everything seemed to go wrong, you had a choice, to give up or to trust that God was working through it all. And you chose faith. You chose to believe that even in the darkest moments, God was still in control. that every failure was a lesson, every delay was divine timing, and every rejection was redirection towards something better. While others allowed failure to break them, you allowed it to build you. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, you learned from it. Instead of letting disappointment stop you, you used it to fuel your determination. The enemy wanted you to believe that failure was final, that you were not strong enough to rise again. But each time you fell, God was there, lifting you up, reminding you of who you are and who He created you to be. He never promised that the road would be easy, but He did promise that He would walk with you through every challenge. And because you chose to trust in Him rather than in your circumstances, every failure became a tool for growth. Now, you no longer fear failure. You no longer see setbacks as obstacles but as opportunities. You understand that God uses challenges to build endurance, to develop character, to increase wisdom. The struggles you have faced have prepared you for what is coming. The lessons you have learned have equipped you with the strength you need to carry out your purpose. While others look at success as a straight path upward, you know that true greatness is built through every valley, every challenge, every lesson learned along the way. They doubted you because they only saw the struggles, but they could not see what God was doing behind the scenes. They thought failure was the end of your story, but God was using it to write a greater testimony. Every time you were knocked down, you rose stronger. Every time you faced rejection, you gained resilience. And now, as you move forward, you do so with the knowledge that nothing can truly defeat you. Every experience, no matter how painful, has been turned into preparation for what God is calling you to do. The world may not understand how you have endured, how you have kept going despite every setback. But the truth is, you never walked alone. God has been with you every step of the way, using every failure as a tool to refine and strengthen you. What once seemed like a loss was actually a setup for something greater. The skills, the wisdom, the faith that you have gained through your struggles will carry you into your destiny. And now, because of everything you have faced, you are unstoppable, not because you have never failed, but because failure could not break you. Not because everything has gone according to plan, but because you have learned to trust in God's plan above all else. You are proof that failure is not the end, it is the foundation upon which true success is built. And as you continue forward, you do so knowing that every setback has only positioned you for an even greater comeback. The world has tried to define success in its own way through wealth, fame, status, and recognition. It teaches that success is about climbing the highest ladder, being admired by others, and collecting tangible rewards. But as one of God's chosen ones, you have come to realize that success is not about what the world sees. It is not about accumulating riches, gaining applause, or achieving status. True success is about living in alignment with the purpose God has placed upon your life. It is about fulfilling His calling, walking in obedience, and leaving an impact that extends beyond yourself. You have reached a point where you no longer measure your worth by worldly standards. You no longer feel pressured to compare yourself to others or to chase after things that do not align with God's plan for you. You have discovered that real success is not found in temporary achievements, but in the eternal impact of a life lived in purpose. It is not about how much you have, but about who you are becoming. It is about growing into the person God created you to be, overcoming the challenges that once held you back, and stepping fully into the destiny that has been waiting for you all along. The world often tells people that their value is determined by how they measure up against others. It fosters a mindset of competition, comparison, and insecurity. But God's chosen ones do not compete with the world, they walk in their own unique calling. You are not here to follow someone else's path. You were never meant to live according to the expectations of society. Your success is not defined by what others are doing, but by how faithfully you are walking in your own journey. Every step you take in alignment with God's will is a victory. Every time you refuse to be swayed by the opinions of others and choose to trust in God instead, you are winning. Success is not about achieving perfection or reaching an end goal. It is about continuous growth, about becoming stronger in faith, about impacting lives through the wisdom and lessons you have gained. When you remain faithful to God's plan, you are already succeeding, even if the world does not recognize it. What makes your journey even more powerful is that your success is not just for you. The way you live, the choices you make, the challenges you overcome, they all serve as a testimony for others. Your resilience becomes an inspiration to those who are struggling. Your faith becomes a light to those who are searching. Your victories, no matter how small, create a ripple effect that touches lives beyond your own. This is the kind of success that lasts. This is the kind of impact that goes beyond material gain and creates a legacy of faith. You are not just changing your own life, you are paving the way for others. Every time you choose to rise above hardship instead of giving in, you show others that it is possible. Every time you choose faith over fear, you encourage someone else to do the same. Your journey is not just about reaching your own destiny, it is about leading others toward theirs. This is what it means to be one of God's chosen ones. Live in such a way that your presence leaves a lasting impact on the world around you. The trials you have faced, the battles you have won, the faith that has carried you through it all, serves a greater purpose. Your success is not just for today, it is for the generations to come. The way you walk in obedience to God now will set an example for those who follow. The strength you build, the wisdom you gain, the courage you display, it will all be passed down, not just through words, but through the life you have lived. And now, as you continue forward, you do so with a new understanding. You no longer seek validation from the world. You no longer chase after things that do not align with God's will. You walk with confidence, knowing that your success is already secured in Him. You embrace every challenge as an opportunity to grow. You see every difficulty as preparation for something greater. And most importantly, you know that as long as you remain faithful to God's calling, you can never truly fail. The world may not always understand your path, but that does not matter. What matters is that you are walking in purpose, fulfilling what God has set before you. What matters is that your success is measured not by temporary rewards, but by eternal impact. You are not just here to live, you are here to make a difference. You are here to shine God's light in places where others see only darkness. You are here to break barriers, to rise above limitations, and to show that true success is found in living out the mission God has given you. So, as you stand on the edge of everything God has prepared for you, know this: your greatest victories are still ahead. Your impact is only beginning. Your journey is far from over. The success you walk in is not fleeting, it is eternal. You have been chosen for something greater than yourself, and as you move forward, your life will continue to be a testament to God's power, His faithfulness, and His unshakable plan for you. This is the success that matters, this is the success that lasts, and this is the success that no one can ever take from you.